On paper, the passage looked ordinary. In 1870, the Atlantic ate ships without ceremony, and the Cambria was meant to be one it did not. She was iron-hulled, screw-driven, her saloon polished for music after supper, her steerage packed with trunks tied in rope. Coal was loaded, mail sealed in wax. A steward named Moran hovered like a metronome. 2 engineers argued softly about pressure. A widow settled 2 children in 3rd class, and a young schoolmaster tucked a leather diary into his coat. Ireland dwindled astern. The bell marked the watch. The sea promised only distance. Days at sea learn one another's shape. The Cambria steadied into her rhythm, engines beating through metal and bone, rigging talking in dry notes, gulls wheeling until the coast ran out. Captain Barber walked the bridge with a habit of trusting instruments and instinct. The glass held, then eased. The schoolmaster wrote in a tight hand, as steady as a bench, and sketched the dining room lamp to pass the hours. On Tuesday, the barometer bent. Not a crash, only a lean that kept leaning. The crew shortened canvas to help the steamer's head. Crockery went into racks. Passengers laughed too loudly. By evening, rain crossed the deck in sheets, and the fiddle in the saloon went quiet. Seas met from 2 angles and built seams where the bow hesitated. Lamps swung. The ship kept her course. Shortly after midnight, the wind slewed round hard. A boat stanchion jarred, and a boat banged itself to splinters before lines reached it. The helmsman complained the wheel had turned soft. Below, the chief engineer laid a palm on a bearing, then on the boiler face, and listened to the beat like a doctor to a chest. Water showed where water did not belong. Pumps clattered and spat black. The carpenter sounded the bilges and came up with a face you hide from paying passengers. Then the sea arrived, not as spray, but as weight. A green body landed on the ship and tried to keep it. A skylight burst, water roared down a companionway, lamps died with a hiss. The order for boats sounded. Men ran for the leeward davits with hands that could hardly feel. The first boat slammed the rail and cracked. A second hit water clean with too many souls and vanished into darkness on a thin hope. The captain gave orders in oilskins with the steadiness of a man solving an equation he dislikes. The Cambria's bow fell into a trough and her stern lifted. Something deep thudded, timbers telling iron they were done. The schoolmaster felt the diary against his ribs, reached for a sailor's sleeve, lost him in a sheet of water, and collided with a hatch, combing hard enough to see sparks where there were none. The widow gripped 2 small wrists in one hand and would not let go. Above them, the bell told itself blind. Every ship has a last clean outline. Lightning gave the Cambria hers at 3 o'clock, masts, funnel, water skimming the deck. Then the ocean took her. The stern went first, the bow pitched down, the deck tilted to a decision, and people slid. A crate shot by, and the sound it made was final. The iron shuddered once, twice as if swallowing, and was gone. After a sinking, the world becomes small. The noise is rope slapping, wood knocking, a whistle no one can place. Those who find wreckage cling. Those in the boats pull until the boats threaten to swamp. Arithmetic does the choosing. A handful made it onto an upturned cutter. 2 sailors, the schoolmaster, a fireman with blistered hands, and a woman whose dress tore away until she was only person and breath. They lashed themselves to thwarts and tried to turn the boat. Each wave turned them instead. Hours became a count of light. Lightning, then black. A gray band to the east, morning that offered detail, but no promise. With light they took inventory, a broken oar, a cork fender, a tin of biscuits hooked from the water with a belt, no fresh water. The fireman cut the tin into a crude cup in case rain came. It did not. The sailors told each other not to sleep. One slept anyway and woke choking. The schoolmaster's hands shook in bursts like an engine remembering itself. The woman stared at the line where sea met air and would not speak her name. The sea settled from rage to insult, short chop that kept score with slaps. They endured because there was nothing else. The woman described, in a thin voice, a red kite she had flown over a field as a child. One sailor described a greenick stew so thick you could stand a spoon in it. The other kept his silence and stared into a distance with no object in it. The schoolmaster tried to compute drift with numbers that looked honest until he compared them to the sky. The fireman slept in snatches and held his burned hands up like a prayer he wasn't sure how to finish. By noon, gulls arrived, intent on their own work and indifferent to arithmetic. On the second day, the schoolmaster scratched words on the inside plank with a splinter where the salt could not wash them clean. Date, ship, we are here. He laughed once, a dry sound, and cried without noise. The sailors split 2 biscuits the size of small stones. When thirst sharpened, they rinsed their mouths with sea and regretted it at once. The wind eased but did not help. The sun burned its facts into their faces. Toward the third morning, a smudge appeared to the south. Smudges are jokes the horizon tells, but this one held and grew a triangle of sail. A fishing lugger altered course. They waved a jacket on a spar. The lugger came on, rolled, and slid alongside with men shouting in a language the schoolmaster did not know and never forgot. Lines flew, hands grabbed. The cutter, suddenly shameful as a broken toy, was let go. Aboard the lugger there was water, then bread, then questions. Sailors answer like ledgers: ship, date, position guessed, course intended, number lost. The woman drank and slept with her mouth open, a child's sleep. The fireman kissed his burned hands as if greeting them. The schoolmaster laid his diary open on the deck to dry. Ink smudged but held. He added one line that survived. We are carried by strangers, and we are not dead. Harbor met them with a crowd because sea news travels faster than men. Names were taken, telegrams clicked. A list began in neat ink and dissolved into other hands. A boy asked whether the engines had stopped singing. A man asked whether the captain was last. A clergyman started to speak about mercy and stopped when the fireman shook. The sailors asked for quiet and got it. The inquiry opened in rooms that smelled of wool and salt. Charts were unrolled. Witnesses spoke. Weather that turned vindictive, steering that went soft, a boat that smashed, pumps that could not keep up. The company pointed to Captain Barber's judgment. The press pointed to the gale. The widowed pointed to heaven. The final paper called it a concurrence of swell and storm, and recommended stronger boats, more drills, closer eye on the glass. That is how the century learned, after, on paper. Facts remain. The Cambria was strong. The storm was stronger. The boats were there. Many could not reach them. Some floated and were found. Most sank without witness. The cutter carried a few because their hands would not let go. Fishermen with names that did not cross into newspapers brought them ashore. The rest belonged to the sea, which keeps its books without boasting. If you stand on a west-facing shore when weather climbs, you can believe you hear ironwork under strain and crockery rattle in its rack. That is not haunting so much as a coastline practicing memory. Somewhere under the lanes lies the Cambria's outline softened to suggestion. The diary that survived says little you could not guess. Dates, pride in a good ship, a line about fear that never uses the word. Real accounts often look like that. They leave room for the water. Thank you for listening to the Sunken Ledger. Subscribe for more true stories from the depths.